This is Nerdhat.
This is Nerdhat.
This is Nerdhat.
Nerds!
Put on your nerd hat.
That's right. Dear friends,
Because
fellow nerds, nerdettes, and assorted nerd persons, Season 5 is here. And we have dun, 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 a new co-host.
Hello, this is Laura Morales.
Yes, she's been on the podcast at least twice before, and
Yeah.
I think once or twice in the background saying something.
Saying stuff, something, yeah.
Oh,
Picking up some kids, throwing stuff.
she was on the X-Files episode.
Yeah. Laura and I did an X-Files episode together to kick off season 4, actually.
Yeah, and we did
that was pretty fun.
was it Jurassic Park?
Yeah, you were on our Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom with Will and I.
Yeah.
So you guys have, if you've been following the podcast for a while, you've heard her beautiful voice before.
Don't stop. Stop that.
But no, Laura has agreed to be our third co-host. We felt the need to spice things up a little bit for this new season, and she has agreed to join
cynical.
our crazy team. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about what your role is going to be?
Oh man. Well, here's the deal. I have a hard time enjoying things in general, but especially movies. Ever since Lord of the Rings came out, my love for the theater has just dwindled over time. It hasn't been it hasn't been magical ever since. And that's okay, I guess.
So you're saying,
but yeah, I don't really enjoy the theater anymore. I don't really look forward to things.
It ruined everything else.
It ruined that and Harry Potter. Well, that came out like when I was 11, I think. So I was, everything else is just not that great. It just really isn't. So I'd love to enjoy things again. And I am here to be convinced to go and see a movie, go and look at it a little less with curiosity and less cynicism. And I doubt it. I doubt it, guys. I doubt it.
Yeah, so kind of, and this was Laura's idea actually, and we've done this a couple times with other guests, kind of this approach, but where two of us are familiar with the movie or TV show that we're talking about, but one of us is not. And Laura is going to kind of be the audience surrogate, the skeptic, the like, hey, I don't have a lot of time. Tell me why I should watch this. And Will and I are going to take turns picking something to review, and there's a dog.
What is that?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Will is showing us his dog for.
I didn't mean to distract y'all.
What's his name or her name?
My third child was whining at the door, and I let her in my office.
Oh, so cute.
It's okay. We're holding our human child, our naked ape over here.
Okay. I didn't catch the name.
Molly.
Well, her coat's really pretty.
And he also has one named LSD and another named marijuana. No.
Serious?
What
the
kidding.
hell, babe?
I'm kidding.
LSD is the cat.
LSD is the cat. That's perfect.
Wait, are we serious?
No.
Oh, guys, what? Holy!
Molly is a drug, if you weren't aware.
I wasn't, and I am serious.
I only know of this from TV, honestly.
Okay. Oh, whatever.
I think John Mulaney has.
Okay, I'm putting you out of the office because you won't behave yourself.
I love the name Molly. I think it's a great name.
It is a good name. It is a good name. Why it became the name of a street drug, I have no idea. But well, like your Batman shirt, Will, by the way.
Thank you.
By the way, I guess for our listeners, like I know because you and I have hung out since then, but how was your Christmas and your New Year's?
It was interesting. It was good and interesting, and I can't talk about the interesting part, but it was good.
Oh, come on, Will. No, it's okay.
Leave us in suspense.
It's okay. Okay, fine.
Yeah, and you just celebrated a birthday recently. We had a little get-together party.
Happy
Yes.
57th birthday, Will. Little
Little
buddy. Yeah.
He's creeping up behind me. He's getting close to 40.
Yeah, 39.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Happy birthday, by the way. Again.
We were sick. We were sick
Yeah.
for like a whole week right before Christmas. So Christmas for me was a little blurry.
Yeah. We literally got out of the woods, I think the day, like Christmas Eve, I think we were finally a little bit like, oh. But yeah, we were like,
It sucked.
Yeah, that's kind of how Christmas Day was pretty good. We were pretty much over it, and yeah, that went pretty well. And but no, the week before was rough. It was a rough, yeah.
Liquids.
No, we just had a King's Day
Everywhere.
celebration, which is a Puerto Rican
Dia de los
Christmas holiday.
Magos.
Dia de los Magos or Los Reyes. It goes both ways, right?
I have no idea.
Anyway, that is a little bit of our holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah. My leg is falling asleep, so I'm gonna just
It's a good idea.
Saw it off, Richard. Cut it off.
The seat is hard, and I had my legs crossed.
So I have a question. Are we talking about back to the subject of the podcast? Are we
Yeah.
talking about the first Aquaman or the one you guys recently saw?
We can talk about both, but where the review is of the new one, and
The new one. Okay.
And since you've seen half of the first one, you have at least some context
Of how bad it is.
Oh, so we're going to talk to you about the second one and try to tell you what it's about and whether you should see it.
Okay.
But before we do that, a little bit of podcast business here. We, as you have probably already seen, if you found this episode, but just in case you just clicked on it and didn't really pay attention to the logo change, we have rebranded. We contemplated, as we talked about prior to the end of the year, the end of season 4, ending the podcast and starting a new podcast, but instead we've chosen to continue this podcast, but to rebrand it. So our new name is now, drum roll please, Nerdhat. That's it.
Be
Just
excited.
Nerdhat.
Be excited. It's very, very cool.
We're
And
having
it's
ongoing-
pretty.
We're having ongoing conversations on what that means. First of all, the pressure to be irreverent is off now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably still be a little irreverent, but I don't have to lean heavy into that. And Richard, we didn't talk about this, but I just want to submit our new motto as "Put on your nerd hats."
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That should be our new tagline. But I was trying to think of a good one, and the only one I can think is like, how many nerd hats would you give it?
Okay.
But I like yours
yeah.
better, Will. Yours is more, it's like, put on your nerd hat.
Yeah.
I like that. That would be a good start. It's like, put on your nerd hats, friends. We're diving in to the review of
Exactly.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Dun, 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 dun.
Blue seahorses.
Yes, indeed. But before we dive in, that was a practice run. But again, name change. So you're going to see that come down. I don't know if how long it'll take for Spotify to like spread that to other podcasting apps, like whether it'll all come through. It might take a bit. It should change right away on Spotify. You'll see it there. Obviously, our Instagram is going to change, and the logo, which Laura is working on.
Mm-hmm.
As Laura, I think we talked about this on the previous episodes, but do you want to talk a bit about what you do for a living?
I do stuff. The end. I am a full-time painter, and I dabble in design, and emphasis on dabble. I know a few things, so yeah. I love to paint. Paint's my passion. Yeah, I'm a watercolor artist, and I with an emphasis in illustration. That's what I do.
And she's really good at it. And check out lauramoralesstudios.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Check out her work there. And as we talked about many times, Will also is a creative. And remind me your website.
Well, I have several. MiloComics.com. Also, you can check out cartoonistwill.deviantart.com for my needs to be heavily updated portfolio.
Yeah, and I dabble in a few other things as well in addition to this podcast. An occasional blog post. I've put some YouTube videos out back in the day. I have 2 other podcasts under my belt, just a handful of episodes on each of them. You can find all of that through my link tree. If you want to check out my Instagram, it's there on the page. It's at @ourbest_WS. That's my personal Instagram. You can follow me there if you want. Mostly just personal and family stuff up on there. I mean, not super personal, but like just my life outside of Nerdhat. I almost said the other name. Anyway, but yeah, you can check out some of my other creative stuff too. But now we are on to this creative stuff. So, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So, for those of you who are not aware of what this is about, according to IMDb, little synopsis here: Black Manta seeks revenge on Aquaman for his father's death. Black Manta's father, not Aquaman's. Wielding the Black Trident's power. You gotta have pronoun antecedent agreement, IMDb. Come on now. Anyway, wielding the Black Trident's power, he becomes a formidable foe. To defend Atlantis, Aquaman forges an alliance with his imprisoned brother. They must protect the kingdom. So this is directed once again by James Wan, who directed the first Aquaman. It's written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. How's that for a Scottish name? McGoldrick. James Wan and Jason Momoa has a writing credit as well. And some of the stars of this show, we have, of course, Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry. Patrick Wilson plays King Orm. They are probably the 2 most prominent characters in this film. Third is the villain, Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who plays Black Manta. A few other important people in the cast. We have Nicole Kidman as Atlanta, which is Arthur Curry's mother. Amber Heard plays Mira. Tamira Morrison plays Tom Curry, which is Arthur's dad, of course. And Randall Park, who's also in the MCU, plays Dr. Stephen Shin. And let us not forget Dolph Lundgren as King Nereus, and Martin Short. As a very, not, I guess you could call it a cameo, but he voices a CGI character, Kingfish. I didn't realize it was him until I saw the credits. I was like, oh, that was Martin Short. Oh. So anyway, that's just a little bit about this film. Will and I saw it last week. So not quite opening night, but we had $5 night at the Marketplace Cinema, which, by the way, $5 Wednesdays. Go check it out, guys. If you're here in the Piedmont Triad area, Marketplace Cinema here in Winston-Salem, $5 Wednesdays, $5 tickets, and a $5 popcorn and drink special.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah, they're not a sponsor, but yeah, we want to promote them because we want to see them do well.
Yeah.
So, Will, why did you want to go see that movie? Why did you want to go see Aquaman?
Because you asked me to, and I wanted to hang out.
So, does that mean you didn't want to go see it?
If you hadn't asked me, I wouldn't have seen it. Like Blue Beetle, it would have went under the radar.
Really?
I have to admit, I really wanted to see Gal Gadot, and she didn't make an appearance, so I was very sad.
Yeah, I did hear a rumor about her guesting on that, but yeah, no. Unlike in Shazam: Fury of the Gods, she did not make a cameo.
Wait, can I ask questions?
Yeah.
Well,
ask whatever you want.
Well. You saw the first one?
Yes.
What do you think of the first one?
I liked it.
Why?
It had a giant crab monster, Laura.
Okay. Okay, but like, so did Moana. I mean, but like, why?
This one was a good guy.
Did you like any of the characters in particular? Like
the crab monster.
Okay, so other than the crab monster, my turn, babe.
Sorry,
I
my turn.
Well, I like this iteration of Arthur Curry better than the Super Friends iteration.
So Arthur Curry is the main dude's name.
Aquaman.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Aquaman's way better. But okay. So this version of Arthur Curry is better than what you've seen before.
Well, more interesting.
More interesting. Why is it more interesting? Because I was
Have
very
you seen
uninterested.
You should tell her what Super Friends is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oops, sorry. Keep going.
Laura's knitting here while we're talking, by the way.
Go get a beer, Richard. This is gonna take a while.
No, okay, well,
I just finished a mixed drink, so I'm on my way.
I'm kidding. Super Friends is like a 1970s cartoon show based on DC Comics, and it had the Wonder Twins with the talking. Did the monkey talk? No, I guess the monkey didn't talk. Anyway, it was a children's cartoon show, and I'm just not a big fan of the Aquaman character in general with the golden blonde hair and all clean cut, and he just didn't seem interesting to me. He talked to fish, and that was it. And but he did ride on this purple blue seahorse, and I can't believe they brought in the Super Friends seahorse into the new movie because they totally did.
They
Yeah,
did?
it's like
Yeah.
a seahorse and the water horse from Frozen 2
Oh,
had
dear.
a baby.
Oh dear.
Have you seen Frozen 2, Will?
Yes.
Yeah, which is a great movie. I love Frozen 2, honestly. But yeah, it was like a glow in the dark giant blue seahorse that he rides. Even though he doesn't really need to ride because he can go super
Sorry,
fast.
is this the Super Friends or is this the first Aquaman?
This is the second Aquaman.
Okay.
The seahorse comes into the second Aquaman. Actually, right at the beginning. He even has voiceover explaining his friend, his new friend.
Was the CGI
Yeah, that seahorse
better
is an important character.
than the first one?
Yeah, according to Richard, the CGI, the second one is better than the first one. I haven't seen the first one in so long that I couldn't tell you though.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I thought it was better. And this one looked great in the theater. Like the water effects were maybe less noticeable. Like the first one, it was just too obviously CGI. And even in this, even though you know it's CGI in this one, it looked better. Like I think they just did a better job with the CGI. And this one had a lot of visual effects. And I didn't notice a scene that, because sometimes you'll have like a studio will have one scene that's done by a different, effects company, and it's obvious that it's different and not as good. But I didn't notice a scene that wasn't done well in this one as far as the CGI is concerned. And it was fun watching in the theater because you had these epic scenes underwater, like going into like find the lost kingdom with giant submarines and sea creatures and stuff like that. It was yeah, and Atlantis looked great. Like it was beautiful.
I have another question. So, well, I'll preface it. So, what captivates me with stories is the complexity of characters and like their backstory. And what I noticed in the first one was what they were very one-dimensional and very stereotypical. And that's when I lost interest. Does that change in the second one?
No.
Ooh. Well, I think, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're done with the pot. See ya. Case closed. Was not convinced. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye. Just kidding. Keep
Well,
going.
I guess the villain was a little complex, but only a tiny bit. And I'm talking about the Zombie King. I'm not talking about the underwater Zombie King, the sea monkey zombies.
You got me at
Yeah, he was slightly twist. He was human at one point.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
and then
don't know.
he basically possesses Black Manta with his permission. Like Black Manta allows this. I mean, initially it happens without his consent, but then he embraces it. He's like possessed by the spirit of King Atlan's long, well, sort of dead, like sort of undead but imprisoned brother, who somehow imbued this black trident with his spirit, and then his spirit somehow infects Black Manta and a couple other characters temporarily as well, including King Orm, Arthur
He's
Curry's
still
brother.
alive?
King Orm?
Yeah.
Yeah. We find out he's been in prison, which I forgot. I don't know if this was pointed out at the end of the first film. I haven't watched it in a while, but he's imprisoned in one of the other kingdoms, like a desert kingdom, and they're giving him just enough water to keep him alive. He's like thin and emaciated.
Oh, fun. I want to see that.
Yeah, there might be a picture online.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
like,
She wants to
which
see it now.
King Orm
played by Patrick Wilson.
Patrick.
I liked him better in the first film because in the second film he's just kind of goofy a little bit or something.
He did well. One thing that he does have a bit of an arc, like in the second
Yeah.
film. Both he and Arthur do as well. I think they both have a bit of an arc. Like their relationship as brother is central, I think, to the plot of the film, and there's development there, and there's by the end of the movie there's some reconciliation between the two, and they as they learn to work together. But yeah, Arthur, part of the plot, like spoiler warning by the way.
No, don't spoil it for me. What if I go see it?
Arthur, in an attempt to fight Black Manta, Arthur needs his brother's help, and so he decides to go break him out of his prison and enlist his help. Which King Orm initially wants to just stay in the prison because he's like, hey, you can't break me out. This will violate our treaty with the desert people. I forget what their names were, but the desert creatures. It once was an ocean. They live in the Sahara, which used to be an ocean apparently, or a sea, which is true actually. It used to be sea. But he eventually talks his brother into helping, and his brother, with all his problems, like he's definitely wants what's best for Atlantis. He was, I'd say, definitely misguided. But his motives are not entirely like he was in the first film, like you saw some of that. Like, he was very frustrated with the surface and how much damage they had done to the oceans and the atmosphere as well. And I think it's good and right to be upset with that, right? So, but he wanted to go too far. He wanted to basically annihilate the surface people. But being upset about what they were doing was perfectly understandable. So I think there was an understandable motivation. So he wasn't like just pure evil, like it was like, okay, like you have a little bit of a warped sense of justice, but there's something good at the root of it here, of like, hey, they're really damaging the planet. Like, we can't let them keep doing that.
Is that true to the comic books?
Yes.
Is it
really?
What little I've read and understand, yes, environmentalism is a reoccurring thing within both DC and Marvel when it comes to the underwater kingdoms. Both, I mean, I think it's especially an Aquaman thing, but I think that what's his name from Marvel has maybe also been upset about the topsiders polluting the oceans. Who am I talking about?
Were you thinking of the villain from Wakanda Forever? Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, the dude with the wings on his feet.
Yeah, I can't think of his name at the moment, but which is not exactly a villain, but he kind of sort of becomes a villain because he wants to go too far.
Yeah. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about Aquaman. So yeah. Yeah, that's been a thing. So they they it definitely made it into the movies.
Yeah, that was pretty strong, and I don't think there was as much of it in the first film, but in this one, there's well, I guess there is, but like in this one, it's definitely very prominent theme in the movie. Like, um, but Arthur, being kind of a child of both worlds, you know, wants to find a way to work with, people that live on the surface to solve the problems. Um, whereas his brothers like kill them all.
In the second one, is it less cliche sounding? Because the dialogue in the first one was very predictable.
I don't know. What do you think, Richard?
I'd say no. Like it's still,
Okay.
in particular with Arthur Curry. Like, I mean, there's some humorous moments, but for the most part, the dialogue is not great. It's mostly an action movie, and I think it knows that, like the directors and them. So it focuses primarily on the action, and the plot goes forward pretty quick, like it pretty steadily. Like there's not, you know, uh, there weren't like boring parts. Like it was pretty fast moving.
I I love me a good boring part of a movie, and I'm being very sincere about that. Yeah, because it's like the characters need a minute to like rest and like
Yes,
process the big.
maybe.
Yeah, I like that. And when it just goes boom, 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 the end, it's not good. I don't like it. I don't like it. It needs to be a good pace.
Yeah, I think this was under 2 hours. I think, which is a little
Oh,
unusual
wow.
for recent superhero movies.
Question. The lady, Atlanta. So I kind of gathered that she didn't die in the first one. What happened to her, and why did people assume that she was dead?
Are you talking about the mother?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but well, they found her. They thought she died,
Okay.
but they found her like in Jules Verne's Center of the Earth.
Oh, that's a
I
place
guess
to be.
you only saw half of that movie, so I guess you missed that part.
Okay.
There were
Well, I
like
mean, I was kind of asking
dinosaurs.
that too. It's like, what happened to her, and why did people think she was dead?
I'd forgotten myself, honestly.
She
But
she disappeared in the ocean and got swept up into a whirlpool into the center of the earth.
well, I think didn't she get like they kind of banished her to this like savage, quote unquote savage people group, or at least people, another one of the seven, was it nine kingdoms or seven kingdoms, one of the underwater kingdoms that was viewed as savage by the Atlantans.
Huh.
And I think, doesn't she find a way to, if memory serves me, she finds a way to communicate with them and like get along with them somehow, I think, or at
I
least
don't
well enough that they spared her, maybe.
I don't remember that. I don't know.
It, it's at the back of my mind, but I may be wrong about that. So, because yeah, we didn't finish. Like, I was rewatching. Laura was watching it the first time, and we didn't finish it, or we haven't finished it
Because it wasn't that interesting.
yet.
It wasn't. And I wanted it to be interesting because I've been very also. This is a little bad. I thought it was Marvel. And I was like, hey, you know
And that
what?
was better sometimes.
Marvel has surprised me. I have been very taken with the plots. And I'm like, you know what? I could be wrong again. I could be no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Sucker, this is the DCEU.
It's just no, it's just disappointing. Disappointing.
Yeah, I do have to say, um, the DCEU, where DC has attempted, kind of after the fact, after Marvel already got theirs off the ground, DC has attempted, even though in DC Comics they were the first to introduce the multiverse idea, like through the character Flash and his storylines. Marvel was definitely the first to get it going with movies, and Kevin Feige just did such a good job masterminding that whole thing, and DC has just not had anybody equivalent on their side. Plus, Warner Brothers has kind of gotten in the way a few times and messed things up. Like I think Zack Snyder might have had the potential of doing that, but he also just takes a different approach. And I think DC is also it's a little darker in general
Yeah.
than Marvel is anyway. So you're not gonna have as many like likable characters necessarily.
See, well, why?
That's just kind of how
Frank Miller. That's why Frank Miller.
it's all Frank's fault.
Who's Frank? Who's Frank Miller?
He took the campy, colorful Saturday morning cartoon vibes of the DC and then turned Batman into this brooding, dark
Okay.
character, which actually was kind of good for Batman, but shouldn't apply to other characters necessarily.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it did kind of infect.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, like Batman is primarily I haven't really read that many other DC comics, so I can't say much. I don't know. Have you've read I think more than I have, Will, like maybe some Flash, right? And some Aquaman, you were saying like
definitely Batman, Superman, and some bit of Flash. I haven't read too much Aquaman. I just know that there's been an environmental message in some of them. Um, I know that Arthur Curry loses his hand and gets a cool hook.
Oh, that's fun.
He's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm talking like a pirate. I got me a hook.
So we have emaciated King Orm, and then we have a hand decapitation. I could get on.
Oh,
He's
get
not
on that train.
emaciated for long. He gets into the water and then he just gets ripped like
Oh, yeah.
reverse ramen noodles.
It's a bit ridiculous.
Wait, what happens?
Well, he's emaciated, and then Arthur's breaking him out, and he's running towards the ocean. And as soon as he gets covered in ocean water, it's like pop. It's like some like the ones cartoon characters, like they stick their thumb in their mouth and they blow themselves up.
Oh wow!
And then suddenly, boom! He's
Oh my
ripped
goodness.
Patrick Wilson.
Oh, silliness.
That dude, like
silliness.
he was a beast, man.
Was it real? Is it real?
I think I think it was. Like his was like he got ripped for this. He was pretty ripped for the last one, but this one he actually had his shirt off, and you could see like, dude, this guy's got big. he put on some muscle. But yeah, that was pretty ridiculous. Sorry, what'd you say, Will?
Well, he didn't have much more else to do in prison than work out, I guess.
Yeah, although he wasn't really able to. Maybe it was like all that work, and then he just like those dinosaurs you used to get. You just put it in water and it just grows.
Yeah.
Like
That was exactly it.
That was a pretty stupid part of the movie, I have to say.
Plot wise, was the second one better than the first one?
Yeah, what was this about? Will, can you summarize the plot? What do you think?
Black man be like, you killed my father, prepare to die.
Okay, that's a
I'm mixing some Princess Bride. I am not the Hispanic guy in Ant-Man. Forgive me for trying. Okay, anyway, so the Black Manta wants revenge, gets cursed trident, decides to go crazy and destroy the earth with greenhouse gases. Yeah, that's our environmental message. Takes an island back to the days of the dinosaurs, apparently, with giant butterflies and
oh yeah,
and grasshoppers that eat rats.
Massive rats.
massive dead rats.
Why are they dead?
Because the grasshoppers were hungry.
Oh, my bad. Okay, continue. Okay.
Sorry, Will, I interrupted you.
And let's break Orm out of prison because only Orm knows where Black Manta is hiding out. Orm is like, well, I don't know, but I know this guy. So they go to the guy, and the guy is Fish King or something, and they tear up his place and say, talk. And then he says Volcano Island, and then they go there, and there are giant things that try to kill them. And
giant like Venus trichops and pitcher plants and carnivorous plants.
Oh, okay.
Everything wants to kill you. It's like Australia.
So Avatar. Continue.
Avatar was better.
Yes, Avatar was better, definitely.
So Then they blow the place up and go to Zombie Kingdom in the Antarctic waters, and then they escape, and everybody's like, "Oh no, underwater zombies!" And they somehow break the curse, and Orm dies, but doesn't really die, and gets to go eat cockroaches on land, like he was meant to.
Oh,
The end.
That's pretty good, Will. I like I like that. Yeah, at one point Arthur plays a joke, because his brother's never been on the surface. So he gives him a cockroach. He's like, "You guys eat this here?" And he's like, "Yeah."
oh,
But jokes on Arthur. Orm actually likes it. And then later he's eating a burger for the first time and he sees a cockroach, grabs it, and puts it on the burger.
oh gosh. Wow. Okay.
So, Richard, I have a question.
Yeah.
If everything else on the island was radioactive and huge, why was the cockroach regular sized?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a continuity problem there. The cockroach should have been as big as a bus, right?
Do you know how long it would have taken Orm to eat that cockroach?
Cockroach would have eaten him. Ooh, snack. Yeah, it was like the Island of Dr. Moreau meets like The Lost World by Arthur Conan Doyle. Yeah, it was a little out there because I forget what it's called, but there's some kind of underwater like mineral or resource that the undersea kingdoms used to is a fuel that they used to burn, and use to power their cities and their vehicles, but they found out that it was toxic. They eventually found out, they didn't know at first, but they eventually found out it was toxic to the ocean. Basically it's an analog to fossil fuels and carbon emissions, but they couldn't just easily get rid of it. So what they did is they just like kind of like we've done with our radioactive waste, they just buried it somewhere and trying to hid it away. But Black Manta finds out about it, and finds some like ancient tech that still use that. So he goes around stealing it, and eventually he breaks into Atlantis and steals it from Atlantis. And but when they burn that, it's just like extremely toxic, and for some reason causes like very quick, um, surprisingly beneficial mutations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bit ridiculous. Like that part was kind of ridiculous.
You know what that reminds me of, Richard?
What's that?
And I'm sure you're familiar with this due to your upbringing, but I want some scientific answers right here. Can can greenhouse gases mutate animals that big? Because young Earth creationists claimed that when the Earth was, in their viewpoint, had a water pocket in the ozone, that mosquitoes were the size of buses and things. So is that scientific? Did those things actually exist back then?
I don't know. I've not heard of any giant mosquitoes.
Okay,
But obviously there were some creatures. I mean, like the dinosaurs, for instance, that we know
right.
concretely were massive.
but do we?
I mean, they found their skeletons.
I know. I'm just being silly.
Yeah, I
There are
don't know.
some
I don't know
people
about the
who
bugs though.
don't believe in dinosaurs.
You have trilobites, but I don't know if
Yeah,
they would classify as because they're underwater. I don't know if crustacean is the right. I don't arthropod. I'm not sure.
So I shouldn't see Aquaman.
Yeah, I guess our final like should Laura spend $5
Yeah.
seeing Aquaman in the theater? What do you think, Will?
it's the last DCEU film that I'm aware of before
What?
the not James Cameron, James Gunn. No, if James Cameron was on the DCU, it'd be great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
Yeah,
man.
he'd probably make it work. He could make a multiverse work, I feel like.
Yeah, he could. Okay, this is the last movie before James Gunn's DCU overrides everything, I think.
Okay.
Does that
You know,
excite you?
the guy that directed Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So James Gunn is now the president of DC Studios.
Is that Sean's brother?
Yes, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I know things sometimes.
So he left Marvel officially, and he's now president of
Oh, okay.
DC Studios. So he's kind of rebooting the universe, so to speak, within
Okay.
DC movies. And this is like the Aquaman was the last one from the first round that was originally started by Zack Snyder, and yeah, and then now continued, well, finished I guess now, but with James Wan, the director.
Okay.
Mostly does horror movies. He's a big horror movie director. Got his start with Saw.
Huh. Well, that's really strange that he then directed Aquaman too.
Yeah, it is kind of random because like you look at his. I was looking at his film credits the other day, and it's almost all horror. Like Aquaman's one of the few exceptions. So it is kind of random that he would just like I'm going to do Aquaman. Like,
That price was right.
yeah, I'm sure he got paid well for it. Um, so Will, this is something. I mean, now we are officially Nerdhat, but we had already introduced this idea of like how many nerd hats out of 5 would you give this film? After you've had a few days to sit on it, so have I. What would you rate it now?
3.5 maybe.
Oh, really?
Well, that's not high.
I mean, even from your review, I'm like, that's really high.
Is that really high? Well,
It's
it
like,
could
it's
be
like more
3
than
then.
halfway, man.
I'm not going to give it below a 3. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it was terrific cinema. It was what it was. It was an action flick. It had some sometimes misplaced humor. I thought Orm was a little too silly in this one personally, but whatever. I guess he got humbled in prison, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
But
He plays the straight man to Arthur's comedian, I guess, or Joker.
The straight man?
Yeah, like in it, when you have comedy duos, a lot of times you'll have one person that's more goofy and one that's just like super
okay.
serious.
Right.
They play off of each other. He was sort of the straight man, where like his humor was from like him being clueless, not from him trying to be goofy.
I guess that his cluelessness was a little silly, a little bit. I guess.
All right, so you say 3.5.
Yeah.
So I think my initial was like 3.25 or something.
It's so
3.5.
specific.
Like straight out of the theater, I gave it a little higher, but now I've had a few days to think about it. I think I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay.
Like the first one, I think I would give maybe a 2.5 at best. It was mediocre. Um, I wasn't I wasn't like waiting with bated breath to see this one, but it's DC, and after seeing the trailer, I was like, oh, it looks promising. So I was like, I want to see it, and it did. It was better than I expected it to be. I'll put it that way. Um, and it's definitely a popcorn flick. It's just you go take it for what it is and enjoy it as it's a visual spectacle, and it's enjoyable. But it's not gonna change your life. It's not
No.
super profound. You'll probably forget a lot of it. You know what I mean? But anyway, I would give it 3 nerd hats. I think 3 nerd hats out of 5.
You guys are generous and sweet.
Yeah, it's like it's better than the first one. So it's a step above mediocre.
So good.
I guess we're not making a very good case for it, are we?
No.
But no, if you just want to escape for a couple hours and watch an enjoyable action movie, it has some humor, it's beautiful visual effects, which is one of the things I like seeing in the theater is a movie that has amazing visual effects and you just immerse in the world visually, and the sound design was good. The music, I didn't really notice the music, which you know means it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? Like if you notice, you can notice the music when it's really bad, but when it just like complements the movie, a lot of times you just don't even notice it. So it's not like a John Williams memorable score, but it worked well with the movie. and again, main thing is like, is it just enjoyable visual spectacle and some fun moments, some humor, and some heartfelt moments, but that they don't land particularly well. I think the actors did the best they could with like the dialogue that they were given. I love Tamara Morrison and almost anything he's in, and Nicole Kidman did a pretty good job. I think she wasn't in the film a whole lot. Neither was Amber Heard, which I'm sure they tried to cut as much of her as they could after the debacle with her and Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I was wondering about
Oh
that.
no. I was like, that name sounds so familiar. You're kidding me. Wait, no, you're not. Give me.
Now you're interested.
That's fair.
I absolutely. Isn't she not like an actress?
Well, she's probably gonna. I don't know if
Wait, no. Before this.
Yeah, she's
Oh
like
no,
an
she's
actress.
been an actress for a while.
Oh, she has. Oh, now I feel
Yeah,
bad.
over a decade.
Well, that's funny. That's funny. I still don't want to see it, but that's funny. Ha!
Yeah, I don't. Since she was basically
Silly.
found, I think she was essentially found. I may be misspeaking, but effectively, turns out she was probably the more abusive one of the two of them, and was, trying to smear Johnny Depp. At least that's how the court case came out. I think, at the very least, he was found not guilty of abuse and of what she accused him of. But I didn't follow it super closely, so don't quote me on any of that. But yeah, her reputation has definitely been scarred. So I'm sure some studios are probably going to distance themselves from her for a while.
That was a very interesting court case to watch. Just saying.
Oh, did you see some of it?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Shoot.
But yeah, she was in this. But they had already recorded most of her scenes before the court case, I think.
Okay.
From what I understand. So they had to keep some of it in, otherwise the story wouldn't have made sense in places. But yeah, she wasn't super prominent.
Okay.
That's why her character got super burnt.
Yeah, she was a lot more prominent in the first film.
Wait, who was she in the first one?
Let's see.
Who was she in
She's
the
the
first
princess
film?
from that other kingdom. She was like
The
betrothed.
redhead?
Mira. Yeah, the redhead.
You're kidding.
Yeah, she's still redheaded, obviously.
Oh man.
But she was the princess
I
from
totally missed that.
from King Nereus's daughter from one of the other undersea kingdoms.
Is she a good actress?
I haven't seen her in anything else, so I
Okay,
can't really speak
okay,
to that.
okay.
I thought she did a decent job in Aquaman, but as far as it goes, but I haven't seen her in. I don't know if you have, Will, but I don't think I've seen her in anything else.
I don't think I have.
Okay.
If I did, I did not pay attention to it.
Well, this has been so fun. Let's do it again.
So
You're a bundle
did we
of joy,
convince you to
Laura.
see it?
You what?
Did we convince you to see
Absolutely not.
it?
We'll get you one of these days.
Yeah.
No.
We didn't exactly pick an Oscar winning movie out of the gate.
I'd be a little disappointed. If
Nerdy movie for sure. Yeah, it's getting about that time. Well, hey, that wraps up our first episode of season 5, and thanks to our new co-host for coming on.
I'm proud of us, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Look at us.
We were tired, but we made it work, and yeah, good conversation. Hopefully, our audience will enjoy it as well. And hey, nerds! So. Reminder that the podcast is now bi-weekly, so don't look for something to drop next Wednesday. It'll be 2 Wednesdays from, I guess this will be the 10th, so the next episode will drop on the 24th. So yeah, just remember that. So yeah, we're just we got a lot going on both sides, like Will does, and we do as well. So we're cutting down the frequency a bit, but hopefully that'll up the quality some. That's the plan anyway. But yeah, stay tuned for more. And Will is going to be picking next episode's topic.
Oh,
So it's to be determined, but he's working on it. So, and we got some ideas for the season, just different things we might cover, and but yeah, we're
The Passion of the Christ.
we're planning to have fun. And by the way, this
Just kidding.
this year is gonna be a little different. Instead of splitting the season, doing 2 seasons per year, since we're doing bi-weekly episodes, season 5 is gonna cover all of 2024. There'll be 25 episodes basically for the season. But instead of that taking only 6 months, it's now going to take a year. So we're doing a season per year rather than 2 seasons per year. So that'll change as well. So, but yeah, let us know what you think of the new name and the new logo and the new co-host. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this episode. On Spotify, you can do there, or you can chime in on Instagram or on Facebook. Follow us there. Reverend. Well, it's all going to be changing. It might still be the Irreverent Nerds, but I got to go in and change all that. It might take a little bit. Instagram will be the easiest to switch. So yeah, we'll let you know when we get all the new handles and all that set in place. Till next time, nerds.
sayonara.
Live long and prosper.
I love you.
Is that gonna be your thing at the end of
I
the
don't know. I
Nerds, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode as we launch season 5 with a new name, a new tagline, a new co-host. Take a moment, by the way, to welcome Laura, our new co-host. You can do so in the comments on Spotify when you let us know what you think of the episode. You can also hit us up on Instagram. We have a new handle, by the way. It is at Nerdhat Pod. That's at Nerdhat Pod. That's the best place to connect with us on social media. However, you can still follow us on Facebook. At the moment, while we're under construction, that is still called The Irreverent Nerds, our old name, but it will be changing within the next couple of weeks. Our name on YouTube has changed. It is now Nerdhat Entertainment. Again, Instagram is where you're going to see a lot of things first and most often, and that is where the changes are going down. So hit us up there at Nerdhat Pod. All right. So 2 weeks from now, the next episode will drop. That is January 24th. A topic as yet to be determined, but will be chosen by our very own William Thomas Boyer. Nerds, until then, stay groovy. This is Nerdhat.
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
All right. I guess we'll go me. Outtakes.
Is this Nerd Hat?
All right, let's start over.